So in this video, I'd like to just introduce you to the concepts of present value and future value and show you how they're used. We'll look at 4 different examples of how they're used without worrying very much about computations. We'll talk about how to do the actual computations in class on Monday. And to learn about how to use present and single value, we're going to look at 4 questions. And the first question is this. You inherit $50,000 and you're going to invest the inheritance of $50,000, and the question is, how much will you have after 5 years? So to explore this question, or in general to explore questions about the time value of money, what we want to do is we want to look at a timeline. And this is going to help us visualize what's going on here. This is now, and right now we invest $50,000. We're going to have to specify a rate of return. This is interest rate, a rate of return, and for this particular problem, I'm going to assume a rate of return of 8%, that we can get an 8% return on our investment each year, and we're going to compound our return annually. And we want to know how much we're going to have after 5 years. The amount that we're going to have after 5 years is called the future value. So we are looking now at the future value of a single amount, and specifically we want to know the future value of $50,000 invested now. It's invested over 5 years at a rate of 8% return, compounded yearly, annually, and we want to know how much will we have in 5 years. What is the future value of $50,000 in 5 years? And we can say that the future value of $50,000 after 5 years with an 8% rate of return is $73,466. So when we're looking at future value, we want to know what will we have at some point in the future. And when we talk about time value of money, you know, when we talk about future value, we have to have an amount, $50,000, a time period, 5 years, a rate of return, which is 8%, and then we can say the future value of $50,000 after 5 years with an 8% rate of return is $73,466. And as I said, we will talk about how to calculate that in class on Monday. But this is how we use future value. We have an amount now. We're going to invest it over time, and we want to know how much we'll have at some point in the future, and that is the future value. Now let's look at a different situation. Here we need to make a choice. Would you rather have $1 million now or $1.25 million, $1.25 million 5 years from now? Now, I think most of you, without even any further thought, would say, well, I want the $1 million now. I'll have it to spend. Maybe something will happen and I won't be alive in 5 years, or maybe they'll go back on their promise to give me $1.25 million. So a lot of people would rather have the money now, just sort of for intuitive reasons. But we're not dealing with intuition here. We're dealing with accounting here, and there may be accounting reasons to wait the 5 years to get $1.25 million. After all, it is more money. And, you know, we could just make the assumption, well, maybe we're going to spend the next 5 years in a convent or in a monastery or something where we have no need for money. The $1 million would do us no good. So, you know, why not just wait 5 years and get more money, get $1.25 million? Well, let's see how we can sort of rationally make this decision. Look, here's the timeline for the $1.25 million in 5 years, all right? We would have nothing now if we take the $1.25 million, and then in 5 years, we get a payout of $1.25 million. And the question is, well, would we rather have that than $1 million now? Well, look, here's the thing. We could get $1.25 million in 5 years by investing some amount right now and then earning interest over the 5 years. We can invest some amount which is smaller than $1.25 million. We can invest it right now, and we can, have a rate of return that'll pay a return every year, and then in 5 years we would have $1.25 million. And if we look for that amount to invest, we call it the present value. The present value of $1.25 million in 5 years is the amount you need to invest now to get a $1.25 million 5 years from now. The present value is the amount that we have to invest right now to get $1.25 million 5 years from now. And, of course, that amount, the present value, is going to depend on what our rate of return is, what our rate of return or what our interest rate is. So let's look at a few possibilities. First of all, we're looking at the present value of a single amount, and let's look at a few possible outcomes. If we assume that we will have a 3% rate of return, that's not much of a rate of return, but if we want something completely safe, like treasury bills or insured savings accounts, that's all we're going to get right now is 3%. And if all we're going to get is 3%, then what we find is that the present value of $1.25 million to be received in 5 years is actually a little more than $1 million. It's $1,078,000. That's a higher present value than $1 million. So you know what? If all we really, if we're concerned about safety of our investment, and all we would do is put our $1 million into savings accounts or treasury bills or something like that, then you know what? We're better off taking this $1.25 million in 5 years than we are taking $1 million now, because the present value of $1.25 million in 5 years is more than $1 million. So, look, if we were going to go into a convent or a monastery right now and had no need for money, why would we take $1 million now when we wouldn't be able to get at 3%? We would not be able to get $1.25 million in 5 years. Why not wait the 5 years, get to $1.25 million, because its present value is greater than $1 million. But now, what if we assume a higher interest rate? What if we assume an interest or a higher rate of return, let's say of 8%? Well, you know what? If our rate of return is 8%, we don't need to start with this much money to generate $1.25 million, do we? In fact, it turns out that all we need to start with is just a little over $850,000. The present value of $1.25 million paid 5 years from now with an 8% rate of return is $850,000. Present value is always going to be less than future value, because present value talks about taking an amount right now and investing it and earning interest or earning some return on it to get a larger amount in the future. So look, what's this telling us about this question? Would you rather have $1 million now, $1 million now, or $1.25 million 5 years from now? Well, it's telling us it depends a little bit on what we're willing to assume on a rate of return. Because the higher the rate of return, the less we need to start with to generate $1.25 million. So here, look, the present value of $1.25 million in 5 years with an 8% rate of return is $850,000. That's less than $1 million. I'd rather take the $1 million, because I can invest $1 million and end up with more than $1.25 million in 5 years. But if I have to work with a lower rate of return, let's say 3%, then maybe I'm better off waiting, because the present value of $1.25 million after 5 years with a 3% rate of return is more than $1 million. So this is how we use present value. Let's look at another question. And the question is this. Suppose that you invest $1,000 a year. How much will I have for my newborn child's education when she turns 18? This is a question which might be relevant to some of you. You invest, you have a newborn child. You invest $1,000 a year. How much will you have when the child turns 18? Well, look, this is not just a single sum. This is not just saying I'm investing $1,000 now and just, letting it grow until she's 18. Now I'm investing $1,000 every single year. And when we have a series of payments, we call it an annuity. An annuity is a series of equal payments made out over that are made over equal intervals of time. So here's our timeline for the annuity. And our annuity runs 18 years. We make our first payment at the end of the first year. All right, this is called an ordinary annuity. And in an ordinary annuity, the payment is made at the end of a year. So at the end of year 1, we invest $1,000. At the end of year 2, we invest $1,000. At the end of year 3, we invest another $1,000. This happens every year, and of course, everything we invest, we've assumed here a 5% rate of return on our investment. Again, different assumptions for different rates of returns are going to give different results here. But for this example, I'm assuming a 5% rate of return on our investment. We're investing $1,000 at the end of each year. You understand that in this second year, this $1,000 is earning interest. And then during this third year, we got another $1,000, so we have $2,000 and some extra because of the interest from the first year. So the amount is accumulating every year as we're adding to the annuity every year. And finally, at the end of the 18th year, we add one more $1,000, and we look at how much we have. And the future value of an annuity is going to be the amount that we accumulate after these 18 years. So we have a $1,000 annuity every year for 18 years with a 5% rate of return. We can say the future value of that annuity is going to be, let's get the number, is going to be $28,152. The future value of an annuity to which I pay $1,000 a year for 18 years, assuming a 5% rate of return, is $28,152. So when we talk first, let's talk the talk correctly. When we're dealing with an annuity, we have to say how much the payment is each year. We have to say how long the payments go on. We have to say what the rate of return is. So we say the whole thing, the future value of an annuity to which I pay $1,000 a year for 18 years, assuming a 5% rate of return, is $28,152. So I'm going to be able to take out a lot more than the $1,000 a year that I put in during the 18-year course of the annuity. This is the future value of an annuity. So now let's look at one more problem. And here where maybe this gentleman is retiring, and here's the problem. He expects to live another 25 years. How much does he need to invest now to produce an income of $30,000 a year for the next 25 years? You know, when people think of an annuity, when people hear the word annuity, they often think of the word retirement, and this is why, because annuities are very applicable to situations involving retirement. And let's look at the timeline here. All right. Right now, some amount is going to be put into this annuity. We don't know what it is, but we're going to put some amount into the annuity, and that amount is going to grow, or it's going to have an interest rate applied to it each year, and we're going to assume a 5% interest rate again. So during the first year, whatever amount we deposit it is going to have 5% interest added, but then we're going to take out $30,000. So now there's going to be a little bit less left, isn't there? And whatever there is left will add 5% interest to, going to the second year, and then we'll take out another $30,000. We're going to take out $30,000 every year through year 25. And at the end of year 25, this process ends, and there's not going to be any money left, all right? So we can take out more than just the interest, all right? We can take out more than just the interest, because what we're going to do is we're going to take this amount of money, and over time, it's going to decline to zero. So in this 25th year, we're going to take a payment of $30,000, and then there'll be nothing left. So the question is, well, how much do we need to start with? And that is the present value of the annuity. The present value of the annuity is the amount that has to go into the annuity right here at the beginning in order to, first of all, draw $30,000 a year over 25 years and be subjected to this 5% rate of interest, which will cause a little bit of growth every year, but that growth will be more than offset by a $30,000 withdrawal every year. So we're now looking at the present value of an annuity. We want to know the present value of this stream of $30,000 payments over 25 years with a 5% rate of interest. And what we can say is that the present value of an annuity paying $30,000 a year over 25 years with a 5% rate of return is $422,000, okay? Now, you know, over 25 years, if you're getting $30,000 a year, you're going to get a total of, I think, $750,000. But we don't have to deposit $750,000 at the beginning because there's going to be interest earned over time. So the present value of this annuity stream, yes, the annuity stream totals $750,000 over 25 years, but the present value is less than that because the money is earning interest. And all we have to deposit is $422,000, $422,818. That's all we have to deposit to generate this income stream or this cash flow stream over 25 years and get $30,000 a year, but be left with nothing. So this is the present value of an annuity, and we say the present value of an annuity paying $30,000 a year over 25 years with a 5% rate of return is $422,818. So look, these are the four situations that we look at. We're looking at the future value of a single amount. We're looking at the present value of a single amount, the future value of an annuity, and the present value of an annuity. And the point of this particular pre-class video is to give you an idea of what each of these phrases means: present value of a single amount, future value of a single amount, future value of an annuity, and future and present value of an annuity, and to show you how we use these.